So welcome to the community workshop, Supercharging Your Designs with Artificial Intelligence. Now, on the agenda for today, we will be meeting our speaker. Our speaker is Tamer. We're telling you more about him and his experience. And then we'll be talking about leveraging AI in the digital product design. I know you must have heard about a lot of tools, but we'll be talking about tools and design, tools you'd use for design and research. And then if you haven't heard of QoQo.ai, just sit back, wait until we tell you all the things you could do and all the accomplishments you could have by using QoQo.ai. And of course, we'll definitely take your questions at the end. So feel free to use the Q&A box just at the bottom screen. Ask your questions as we move along. But welcome, welcome, welcome to this event. Now, for your speaker, I know you may have had a sneak peek into who will be taking this workshop. His name is Tamer, and I always love fun facts. Tamer actually has over 20 years of experience in user experience design. He's the founder of QoQo.ai. And fun fact about Tamer, he's working with our Andela client, Bank Misr. And he's excited about design, and that's why he's the founder of QoQo.ai. Fun fact about Tamer, I don't know if you can guess, but Tamer actually lifts weights from time to time. Have you ever met a designer who lifts weights and, does that? You could put it in the chat. But welcome, Tamer. Thank you for joining us today and sharing, your experience and your knowledge with everyone. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Oh, good. Thank you. I'm pretty excited about our talk today and looking forward to it.
Awesome. And I mean, before I hand over the session to you, I would love to ask how your journey has been. You've had over 20 years of experience in design. And how has that been? How's your journey been, with design?
It's pretty exciting. I mean, my background is actually in electronics and communication, and I started as a lecturer. But then I was gravitated to UX design and design in general. The creative process just basically attracted me. So I switched career 20 years ago. And since then I've been doing it. Yeah, I know. It's a huge shift, but since then I've been enjoying the ride. Can't say it's not a job. I love it. I love what I do.
Awesome. And even better, we are at an event where you're going to tell us, how to enjoy design, with AI tools. So I'll allow you to take the session away.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a good one. So let me go ahead and share my screen to go over the next slides. Okay, cool. So as it's been said, we're in a junction at the moment where AI suddenly exploded. It became evident that it's a force to reckon with. And developers have been working with AI for a while, but now it's our turn as designers and product people to start being exposed to that force and harness its power to hone on our skill or to leverage it into our workflow. So the first thing that we want to discuss is how we can leverage AI into the digital product design or the product process in general. So as we know, artificial intelligence at the moment, it has the ability to aid us as designers with decision-making. As designers, we all know that one of the hardest steps in our design phases or process that we always get stuck early on. We have multiple options, a lot of options, and the decision-making becomes something of a daunting chore or something that is stressful for us. It could make us also more efficient, Okay, like if we can have someone beside us, working beside us as a companion to give us suggestion that could make us more efficient or give us quicker action to factual data. It could also enhance our understanding of the users that we are about to design or solve a problem for. It could be, doesn't have to be the final understanding of the user, but an early, quick understanding of such user would be beneficial for us to try to build that empathy early on in the process. So if we're going to divide how can we leverage AI into our process or infuse it into our process, the obvious sure or step is or phase where there's repetitive tasks, the automation of repetitive tasks. So for example, if we have unstructured data that comes in the form of stakeholder intakes, for example, like kickoff meetings or regular bi-weekly meetings, notes or transcripts that we want to extract structured data or convert it into structured data. So basically from natural language of the discussion, try to extract insights and convert that into structured data. That's something that AI could obviously help us with, okay? Also copywriting, that's something that, as designer, we used to use dummy or filler text, for example, within our design. That could lead to, for example, if we're testing our design with the users, with the stakeholders, that could lead to designs not being perceived as we wish they would have been if we have some actual copy, comprehensive copy rather than filler text. Also, AI could be used as a suggestion engine. So we could unstuck our design process. So again, coming back to the decision making, if we stuck with decision, like for example, choice of colors, or exploring new ideas for navigation schemes, or any step where you get stuck within the design process, you can start asking the AI for suggestions. Okay, so again, you don't ask the AI, oh, we don't wish the AI to be the definitive or to give us just one answer. We wanted to give us suggestions, and we as designers or humans in general select what fits the scenario or the context from that list of suggestions. Okay. Also within that context, it could accelerate our discovery. So we've mentioned that in many cases, there's the situation where there's no budget for research or there's no time for research. And we as designers, we will always want to work with research data. We want to build our solution based on research, okay, based on facts, take informed decisions, okay? So AI could accelerate our discovery, okay, rather than waiting or having to go through discussions, oh, I need the budget, I need the time, okay? AI could accelerate that process of discovery and ideation, okay? Also, additionally, expanding your knowledge graph. So AI could expose you to unique ideas that you were not aware of, okay? Ideas that neither the stakeholders have brought to the table, nor you have heard from doing user interviews. So AI could expose you to other choices, hidden insights, as we will see in our workshop, that none of the teams involved were aware of. But at the end, what we want to always keep in mind that the decision always relies upon the human critical thinking. So designers, product people, marketing people, AI is enabler, okay? It enables us to make a smarter decision, more efficient, maybe faster, more insightful, but it's never going to be a replacement for our human critical thinking. Okay, so next, what are the tools that we can use in our design and research? So for product people, research might be relevant, and design, as designers, of course, design and research is both relevant to us. So I'll take it from the top, taking it from the top, research and discovery. So that's, if we think of the double diamond process, that's the first thing that we do. We want to go diverge and explore, do user interviews, try to expose or uncover the hidden secrets of the problem. So we try to propose the right solution to it. So AI could provide us a quick and, as we said, efficient access to data and insights. Okay, so rather than you going online and doing research across lots of papers or waiting on user interview, you can get the quick access to early access to data, okay, provisional insights, but that would help you move faster, okay, or execute faster. So that falls under 3 categories. So for example, you have meeting summarizations or transcript. You can have that in the format of videos, or it could be in text format. There's, at the moment, AI could help you ingest and query those media to extract insights really quickly, okay? Ideate faster. So we've spoken about suggestion engines. So having something, a companion that would provide you with multiple suggestions, okay? So get a broad and organized picture at the early stage rather than waiting for a month to get that broad picture. You can get it early on using an AI as a companion. Analyzing research data. So of course, if you have access to research data, okay, you can feed it to a smart AI that could give you as an output the synthesis of this data in a structured way. So if you, let's say, you have qualitative or qualitative research data that you have at your disposal, and you want to extract insight from that, that AI would make that process really quick compared to doing it manually at the moment. Going into the next phase, or the final phase of the double diamond, there's the wireframing and the visual design. Of course, there's we all hate going into this phase, the repetitive tasks, and having to think about the multiple color choices and font choices, for example. So AI could provide, again, draft information architecture and user flows. Could provide you with color suggestions if you're stuck with the color suggestions. Wireframing. So AI got into the wireframing space, and it's pretty close to being that good where you could give it an information architecture or a user flow, and it would give you, again, I don't want to say it's a final, it's a draft that would make you start at an advanced step rather than starting from scratch. And finally, visual assets. Like if you want to generate images, illustration, 3D assets or artifacts for your designs, that's something that, if you're familiar with Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, so there's multiple tools out there that would help you do that. If you, of course, if you are able to hone or you perfect your prompt ability. So that's something, as a designer, you need to start learning, is how to communicate and talk to those AI tools. Icons, so I'm pretty sure some of you are aware of, there's tools out there, Figma plugins, that you can generate icons with them. And there's multiple UX writing tools, again, to solve the problem of filler text and dummy text that we've been facing as designers for a long time. With that said, the topic of today is QoQo.ai, which is a tool that I have co-founded, okay? And it's basically, it's an AI companion that works beside product designers, researchers, as well as product people. Like I've seen from my experience that it's not just designers, it's also product people using it at the moment. We started it to overcome limited resources. So again, talking to the problem that I mentioned earlier, where there's no budget, there's no time, and we need to do research. So how do we overcome this? We can harness AI to speed up our process. how can QoQo.ai help us? In this case, it can help us speed up the discovery. So rather than us doing the guessing work, it can swiftly gather the insight from public available knowledge. It could increase our UX capabilities. So basically we can, if we're working faster, then we obviously can take more projects without paying while growing our opportunities for more UX work. Can generate new ideas as we discussed, so increase team creativity, reduce stakeholder bias. So this is pretty important because stakeholders always come with a bias. It could be a business-infused bias. It could be just that they believe in something, but it's not, they have their assumptions, okay? So we can take that as a bias, that AI could help eliminate that bias. And it could also uncover hidden insights, as we will see. So overall, it saves time and it gets us to do more. And eventually that would increase our income. If we can do more work, then we probably can make more of our time. So Coco, we've launched Coco January of this year. At the moment, it's more than 18,000 designers, researchers, and product managers are using Coco. It's not funded, it's 100% bootstrapped. It's used by teams, professionals from teams from Microsoft, IBM, Accenture, and so on. So it's not just individual designers, it's also teams from big organizations have adopted this methodology of infusing mixed research methods rather than just human-based. Now, AI is now coming to the picture. So we want to put that into a practical workflow. So we have prepared a workshop that we want to go through with you today. And I've labeled it that this is an augmented design workflow. And it's just one example of a workflow. It's not just the workflow, it's just one example. And I'm going to switch to FigJam. Okay, just to be able to go through the workflow. And I'm going to open Coco, just to give you an idea on how to get Coco if you want to. At the moment, Coco is a Figma and a FigJam plugin. So you want to go to your community, or from FigJam or from Figma, you just click here. You go to plugins, you search for Coco, and you just run it. Okay, so it will run on the side. Again, the idea of having, not feeling lonely while you're designing, you're not alone. There's someone working beside you, providing you, feeding your process with ideas. So we'll take it from the top. Any design process starts with the intake, where you get to sit with the stakeholders. That could be either you directly communicating with the client, or you're communicating with the product owners, for example. And there's that first kickoff meeting, or what we call the intake. Okay, so this is where Coco could come in, where you have the transcript or the, for example, the notes, okay, from that kickoff meeting. Okay, for example, this is a kickoff meeting notes. So basically, you want to extract the project goals, the milestone deliverables, basically create a design brief where you could go to the next meeting, align with everyone that this is what we're going to be working on, this is the problem, this is our target audience, and so on. So you can copy that, okay? Could be multiple pages. Okay, you can copy that from any document, transcript, if it's a video, from Loom, Zoom, whatever. Then in Coco, for example, you go to design brief. You can copy it here. And I'll leave Coco to generate, but I'll show you the output on the side. So for example, here is generating or analyzing the input that I gave. You can see streaming the output here, but the output looks something like that. So basically giving me a summary of the project overview and the target audience. Sorry, let me reset this. Coco here. Target audience, which is a provisional persona, if you want to think of it like that. Okay, so just an early access to who are we targeting, the goals of the project, which is pretty important to discuss early on and align with the stakeholders, the constraints, again, for our designers, we're solving a problem, as you know, within certain constraints. We need to have constraints, otherwise we're providing a solution that is not feasible. There's always assumptions. So we've discussed the stakeholders' bias that they bring with them. So there's assumptions that needs to be validated. So again, it's extracted that from the notes. And it also, if there's no competitors mentioned in that initial intake, it could suggest that those could be your possible competitors. And if there is, it would extract it and list them. We can then take those and go to Coco Chat Assistant, okay, and then expand and do market analysis. So if we want to take any of the competitors and do market analysis, for example, tell me more about lending club. Okay, so what would happen is, so far it's a similar experience to ChatGPT, except that it's in your design tool. So far the difference is not that huge. It's only the convenience is that it works in your design tool. But then you can also highlight the text from here. Okay, let me stop that. Okay, and extract it as a sticky note. So if you see something that is interesting to you, for example, and you want to highlight in your next meeting with the stakeholders, you can extract that to sticky note. So going back to our design brief, it also identified the success criteria, the deliverables, which is pretty important, again, to align with the rest of the team, project phases, okay? Also, it could extract the budget or suggest a budget and an estimated timeline. So now we have enough to give us visibility. Just in a few seconds, we have enough visibility rather than going through a huge document. Now we have extracted what's important that we could take to our next meeting and align and modify, of course, modify with the rest of the team. So assuming it's final, they've all agreed, the rest of the team, they've all agreed with their stakeholders, it's all done. We agreed to that. So now we want to go to the next phase where we've identified our target audience. We want to go and interview this target audience, but we need to prepare for the interview. So what we can do is take this target audience and create what we call a proto persona. So we have this persona tool here in Coco. So basically, you need to take the details of your target audience, okay? And you just add your persona demographic. As you've seen, I've copied it here, okay? Copied it here. And I've copied the scenario here. And basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to get an early access to who are the target audience that I'm going to be interviewing and what are the assumptions, so I could build the perfect user interview questions or guideline, okay? So again, I could also select the output language if I want to. So it's not just English. I was put in a position where once I'm English speaking, but I had to create my research data in French. So this is something that in this case, I would have been putting the input in English, the output would be in French. And I click generate. Okay, let it work on the side, but that's how the output would look like. So as you can see, it generates a provisional user goals, needs, motivations, frustrations, tasks. So the usual as well as opportunities. So what that does is basically it allows me to empathize, really quickly empathize with the persona that I'm going to be interviewing, try to understand, have a broad idea about their needs, their tasks, and as well as opportunities where I could provide value via design. So with that said, I have now my provisional or proto persona. I could also create the current journey map. So similar to what we've done in the persona, I could go into the user journey map tool, input it, actually pre-populate the same information that I've already used in the persona. I could click generate, and it does the same thing. It's such generating a provisional current journey map, okay, based on the input that I fed it. With that, now I have the early understanding or the broad understanding of that persona, the current journey, how it looks like. I could use those and go into a workshop with the stakeholders, align on the assumptions that we already had here, combined with the early insights that I got here, to extract the discussion topics. So end goal is to design my user interview, okay? But now I have the discussion topics where I've extracted, those are the topics that I want to infuse into my user interview. So I can take those topics and then go to the user interview tool. I could add those topics. Again, it's pre-populated with the information that I've provided it, okay? I could add my topics here and click generate, and it does what it does. It's gonna be generating sort of a suggestion. Remember, we mentioned it's a suggestion engine. So it's gonna be suggesting questions that you could ask throughout the interview, okay? Compared to, I know lots of designers, what they do at the moment is that they go online and they look for templates and they try to tailor those templates to their needs. But what we have now is an AI, a smart AI that have taken the topics that we want to discuss with our provisional user, okay, or provisional persona, and it suggested questions to ask. So it has given me the pre-log or the intro for my interview, and it suggested under each topic up to 5 questions. I could modify those questions. I could keep them as they are. I could delete any of those questions. And if you've looked at the questions, you'll find out that none of them is a leading questions. For example, there's no yes and questions. Okay, it's all questions that opens for a discussion. Okay. So you take that to, for example, you do your user interviews, you've collected enough data that you want to then go back, okay, and create your archetypical persona or the actual persona. So assuming that you have your multiple or the output from multiple user interviews. And we're familiar with that structure where it's very scattered all over the screen, and we need to use some tool to find similarities. So this is where the affinity mapping or similarity tool would come in. So it would help us to combine the similarities that we've heard during our interviews into an archetypical persona that would cover all the personas or all the most of our users, okay? But what Coco does, it doesn't just combine it with your interview findings. It could also infuse the hidden insights that we have discussed earlier that the AIs bring to the table. And there's a logical reason behind those insights. I'll give an example. So in this case, in this scenario, we're talking about, for example, small business owner trying to acquire a loan from a fintech startup. So from experience, we know that users sometimes withhold information when it comes to money, discussions around money. Sometimes they might give you misleading answers. So this is where AI sometimes give you hidden insights. Another example, good example, if it's an internal user, if it's you're building a platform for internal users, and there might be the case where they are going to be reluctant to answer questions because they feel like the answer might impact their situation within the organization, okay, the position within the organization, so they might not be that frank into answering questions. So again, those gaps is where AI could suggest items, again, to be validated, but it's good to uncover those hidden insights, okay? So in this case, for example, the case of a small business owner, maybe one of the needs that they wouldn't mention is that they would need financial advice and someone to plan for them. Because if they tell you, oh, I need someone to plan for me, then you might be reluctant to give them a loan. As a fintech or a bank, you might be reluctant. If you're unable to plan your own business, then how would I be able to give you a loan, for example? Okay? And examples like that, if you read into the details, for example, dealing with government regulations and bureaucracy, that could be culture related. So it's important that in your persona demographic, you mention the country, the region, the culture, because then it could expose some regulation that is specific to the region, okay, or the culture. So again, at the end, using AI would help you not just organize the unstructured data that you've acquired from your interviews, it also enrich it and consolidates it with the AI hidden insight just to give you an archetypical informed persona. Now that you have your archetypical persona, you can go ahead and modify your persona input here and generate the current, or the, sorry, not the current, the ideal journey mapping. So basically, what would be the ideal journey that the user would go through in your proposed solution? Okay, again, going into AI, click generate once you've updated the demographics with your new understanding, the scenario, and click generate, it would generate the ideal or the perfect journey map. Again, it's not defined. This is something that you need to take. There's some items that would need more validation. You would be able to modify any of those outputs. But again, it gives you a draft, a starting point, rather than building it yourself. This is something that would take you hours to extract from documents or research information. It would help you to have a structured starting point, okay? And again, within the journey map, you'll find that it's uncovering hidden opportunities, for example. So opportunity, think of it as a high-level epics. So if you're a product person, not just a designer, so think of opportunities are epics that of a solution that could be you want to provide your users. So for example, this is one example, exploring alternative funding options. So we're talking about someone who's coming for you, wanting, they know what they want, but maybe giving them other options, other loan finance options would be a great opportunity, okay? Also offering them options to accessing government grants and funding programs. I know it might not be your job, but it might be an opportunity that doesn't have to be something that you want to provide in the beginning, but it's good to know that this is something that they might need when you do your next step, which is basically you take those opportunities or epics and you do feature prioritization. So at the moment, we don't have in Coco, we don't have feature prioritization. It could be, we've tested it, but it's coming in the future. So it would build based, you would give it a budget, you would give it a timeline or an estimate of the timeline, and it would basically give you a starting point of a prioritization. exercise where you can go to the stakeholders, say, this is what we have assumed. What do you think? And you start then do your feature prioritization. Okay. Now that you've identified your features and prioritize your features, this is where you start going into the second phase or the second diamond, okay, where the design process starts. Okay, so this is where we go into information architecture. So if you go to Coco, you'll find that, oh, we have a tool to give you a draft information architecture. So again, think of it as a springboard to ideas. So you click generate, you start generating a draft, as you can see, of the platform or the proposed solution that you want to build. Okay, so it will give you the main modules of such platform or solution, the main feature under each module, and the features under each page, or the sub pages or sub features under those features. So take any of those, for example, let's say the loan applications, and maybe you want to explore that a level deeper. So you don't want to stop at the information architecture, or maybe you've taken the information architecture, work your way with the stakeholders, it's confirmed, it's approved, but then you want to start building user flows, okay? So you're going to go ahead and, let's say, take the loan application and go to the user flow tool, which we're currently developing, we're shipping this week, okay? You feed that tool, again, with the details that we know, with the information that we have acquired so far, okay? And it would give you a user flow for that specific feature. So now, as a designer or a product owner, you have a high-level diagram of the user flow of each of the features, which you can then take and start building user stories if you're a product person, or if you're a designer, then you can start go ahead and go into the wireframing phase. So currently, we don't have the wireframe in Coco, but that's something that is coming in the future. But what I want to say is, as you can see, this is just one workflow that highlights how can we, as designers, augment our process from the kickoff, okay, from just the first understanding of our stakeholder needs, okay, going through creating an early empathy with the persona, understanding the current journey, and then designing questions for the interview, then creating or enriching our final persona and creating the ideal journey map. All of that, when you think about it, it could take hours, could take weeks to do if you're doing it on your own. Could take this process that I just described, sometimes could take up to 3 months, okay? In many cases, what we found is that augmenting your process with AI could cut down the time by 80%. So you could find yourself a job or a task that takes 2 weeks, for example. I'll give you one example of a task. For example, taking the output of your interviews, okay? Trying to synthesize that final persona, that would have taken 2 weeks of work. With AI, that's a 6 hours job, okay? So as you can see, AI could speed up the process. It could help us, make us do more in less time. And we can then focus on other tasks, okay, where our efforts are needed. So rather than doing the repetitive task of analyzing document, synthesizing information, trying to understand, having an early understanding of it, this is something that AI could help us with. And with that, okay, we can wrap up and open the platform for questions. So before we go into the questions, I've included a promo code for any of you. Coco has a trial period. You can use it without any limitations during the trial period. There's no credit card required. You just go ahead and use it. Okay, sign up and use it. But if you decide that you want to use it beyond the trial period, you can go ahead and use the promo code attached here. Okay, Andela 2023. And it would give you 50% discount on both either the monthly or the annual subscription. So with that, we open up for the questions.
That was an amazing presentation. Thank you so much, Tamer. And also, I love discounts. Thank you for providing discounts to the Andela community. I would say that Coco actually makes your life easier. I'm not a designer, and so I mean, I know you mentioned some things about shortening the time you use for work, which is great. Before we jump right into questions, I would want to ask. I know a couple of people have been terrified by AI. So would you say that AI is coming to take over, seeing that it could cut 2 weeks of work into 6 hours? What are your thoughts there?
Definitely not. I mean, it's going to be a skill. It's going to be a companion, and it's a skill that you need to acquire if you want to stay relevant, rather than feeding it. You need to infuse it at some point. You're going to need to infuse it in your workflow, but there's no replacement to the critical thinking of us as designers, as humans in general. So it's not a replacement in any way, shape, or form.
And that's good to know. So for everyone on this call, don't be terrified. AI is not taking your job. You're just as relevant. And just as Tamer said, it's a companion. It's meant to make your job easier. I know we have about 15 minutes left on the call. We have 2 questions, and I would love for you to take those. For an engineer, the first one, for an engineer interested in adding design to his skill, how easy is it to use Coco? Is there an onboarding video on Coco?
Definitely. Yeah, I'll start with the second question. So we have a YouTube channel. We have several tutorials. We have workshops that would educate you and guide you on how to use Coco. On your first question, an engineer, I would say it's easier for engineers to communicate with AI tools than designers. So it would be probably easier for you than compared to designers. So I would say the barrier to entry in case of engineers is probably non-existent. It's much easier than designers.
Okay, I think that answered the question. And then the next question is, what tips do you have to overcome bias from AI, especially when the AI bias is similar to those held by stakeholders?
Right, that's a brilliant question. So AI models at the moment, they try to do their best to come with de-biasing tools, but still as users of such tools, we need to infuse and be precise with our input. So that's why we mentioned culture. We mentioned that you have to be precise with your persona demographics. So your input dictates the output. So to debias the output, you'll need to do some work. So again, coming back to where human input is really crucial. Again, without human input, then AI would go forward and just introduce the bias on their own. So your input as human, as designer, as an engineer, as a product person, needs to be precise, need to initiate the de-bias process from your input.
All right, gotcha. And I think this is similar to driving a car. So you literally tell it where to go, and it will just
You
assist
need to
you
steer it.
get
Yes, you
there.
need to steer it to the right direction. Yes.
Awesome. And I don't know if we took the question about, an onboarding video being on Coco. Is that something in the works for people who haven't really used similar
Yep.
tools?
Yep. Yep. So I repeat again. Yeah, we have a YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube, search for QoQo.ai. There's several. I've uploaded one today, for example, around design brief. So there's multiple video tutorials. There's workshops. And we're happy to jump on any call. Just email us. We're happy to jump if you have any question. We'll answer you directly.
All right, that's amazing. And then Carlos has a question on which steps of the design process would you advise to use AI? Since this doesn't use criteria as the main factor for making decisions throughout the design process.
I would say, I mean, it's a good question, but the way I see it in the advancement of AI, it's gonna be infused in every step of the process. The use might be different based on the context of each process, but AI is gonna be part of each step. Like, don't look at AI at the moment. It's just like 6 months since the explosion, but it's gonna be advancing exponentially. So think by next year, it's gonna be something that you would see it building wireframes, for example. Today we've discussed the discovery, research and discovery. So it's gonna be covering, end-to-end process, to be honest. Like I don't see where would it stop.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. And I guess we no longer have questions. Maybe if anyone on the call, if you have one more question, we could, take that before we end the session. We'll give it a few seconds. If not, thank you so much, Tamer, for being here. Thank you so much for the discount code as well. I know the community would utilize that to the very best. We have one additional question. Where can we get your resources? I'll assume that's on YouTube as well.
Yep. I mean, when you install the plugin, it comes with a playground file that explains, if you prefer text format, explains everything. We have a website, QoQo.ai. Again, we have the YouTube channel where we upload on regular basis. Almost every week, we upload a new video. LinkedIn, YouTube, we exist there. We post almost every day. So yeah, you can follow us if you want to.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this. Thank you guys for your questions. It was an amazing time going through, QoQo.ai, and I do hope this helps you in your design process. Feel free to leave feedback in the community space and let us know how your, Coco journey is going. And I guess we'll see you in the next workshop.
Seeing the hearts from the side, so
yes, I see the hearts too. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.